Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, great. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to the Threshold as a Prism and to this very last day of the South Nord Art Fest. We are in the last few hours of our focus weekend, which is about caring. We started on Thursday. We've had an amazing program filled with different performances, workshops, book readings. And if you have missed it, you will be able to see it, some of it anyway, on our website in a while. But today I'm very happy to welcome Good Hair Day from Finland. They held a very beautiful workshop yesterday, Afro Blooming workshop. You can kind of see I got an extra update today. And today they are going to give us a short lecture, and I'd like to introduce them. So we have Jessica Eboreime, who is a hairstylist from Finland, specializing in kinky, curly, and textured hair. She is a contributing member of the Good Hair Day collective since 2018. She is passionate about sharing knowledge, empowerment, building community, providing transparency, addressing misconceptions, and challenging beauty standards. She has experience in salon and editorial shoots, BTS TV, and music, education, and workshops. And then we have Saida Mäki-Penttilä. Sorry about mangling your name. But Saida is a coordinator, a creative strategist, community organizer, and a global connector. She has lived and worked in Africa, Europe, and the US, and she's currently working with topics such as equality, cultural diversity, well-being, and anti-racism. Changing the narrative in Finland to include and to make visible AfroFinnish stories was and still is the passion that led Saida to join the Good Hair Day collective in 2016. So we're looking very much forward to your talk. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you.
Hi. We're here to talk about our amazing afros. That's the slogan that we have at Good Hair Day. In Finnish, it's Oma upea afro. It's been with us since the beginning, and it's really about empowering and putting us in the center. So Oma upea afro, my amazing afro, mitt fantastica afro. And maybe a little bit about why I personally started with Good Hair Day is really captured in this picture. The girl looking in the picture, not really sure about herself, growing up in predominantly white environments, is a story that's very similar to a lot of Afro-Finns in Finland, not being seen or being visible but invisible at the same time. So empowering, changing the narrative, and giving the youth and the generations that come after us a different kind of feel and relationship to themselves and their roots. And maybe Jessica, at this point, you could also share why you became a part of Good Hair Day.
Yeah, so I actually, I was born in Finland, but grew up in the US. And when I moved back to Finland, I think it was the very beginning of Good Hair Day. And Good Hair Day is actually how I found my hairdresser. And then from that, built my entire community, my whole village, I like to say, in Finland. So it's definitely been a place that's dear to my heart and been very important in the relationships that I've built in Finland, but also I wanted to give back. Becoming a hairdresser in Finland, being motivated by just general lack of information, lack of support for the families and the individuals who need those services, and just kind of giving back through Good Hair Day and all of the initiatives, activities that we do, I think have really given me the chance to connect with people on a really nice level. So.
And thank you for being here today. Thank you for bringing your afros here today, those of you who have African heritage, and showing them and being present with us. At Good Hair Day, we really want to focus on brave and safer spaces. So I'm going to read out some of our principles that have been shortened for the purpose of a presentation. But today, I would like everybody to respect other people, their physical and emotional space. And I would really like to give space to the AfroNordics in this event today. Please do not touch anybody's hair without their consent. Don't touch this beautiful exhibit sculpture's hair either. Be aware that your actions, verbal and physical, might hurt someone even though you're not intending to. If that happens, please apologize. Ask for permission before taking pictures of others. You can take pictures of us. We're okay with that. We're on the stage. And today there are no kids, but especially remember that when they're children, always ask the guardian, not only the child. Have fun, connect, feel free to share, and also feel free to not share. We have some questions, so if you feel uncomfortable answering them in this space, you do not have to answer them. And here is some of our collective members in the picture. We're bringing them here with us too. And firstly, I'd really like to start by this quote from Hassan Michael's song. Hassan Michael is an Afro-Fin, Finnish Somali artist, and his song Aina ollut täällä is really like an anthem for Afro-Finnishness and has a lot of the same principles of why we do Good Hair Day. I'll read it in Finnish first and then I'll translate it. Sä haluat paksut hiukset, joita hoitaa harvoin. Sä haluat meidän tyylit, mut ei meidän traumoi. Koitan näissä kengissä ees yksikin päivä kävellä. Haluat käyttää mun kulttuuria, mut et haluis olla mä. Kun silmiin katot, niin katot, sä pelkäät niin kuin oltais petoja. Ja kadulla kävellään, kun ne kysyy, mistä sä tuut, mä vastaan aina ollut täällä. Suomi on myös meidän koti, mun värillä on väliä. On paljon enemmän kuin nimi, uskonto ja väri. Aina ollut täällä. Myös mun siskot ja veljet on aina ollut täällä. So it goes, you want thick hair that you can treat seldomly. You want our style, but you don't want our traumas. Try to walk in my shoes even for one day. You want to use my culture, but you don't want to be me. When you look into my eyes, you get lost. You're scared, like as if we were the predator. And when we walk on the street, they ask, where do you come from? And I always reply, I've always been here. Finland is also our home. My color matters. I'm much more than my name, my religion, or my color. I've always been here, and also my sisters and brothers have always been here. And this picture is from a TV show where you surprise someone with a song and an artist surprises them. Jani Toivola here, who you see in the sculpture, the art by Sasha Huber, is one of Finland's first black MPs. And Hassan Michael decided to surprise him with this song because he's a role model for many of us. He's been in the forefront, he's been the first in the room in many spaces. And there are some other Afro-Finns that we were all part of surprising him. So yeah, this song is really, really an important anthem. And if you do have a question in mind, I don't mind being interrupted, so you can interrupt me and ask a question. We'll just have to bring the mic so that those on the stream can also hear it. So, Afro-Finnishness, why do we talk about it? For us, it's really an umbrella term for those in Finland with African heritage. At Good Hair Day, we take in anybody with African descent. So, whether you've come to Finland through moving there, through migration, work, family ties, or you have mixed heritage, or you're adopted, or you're Afro-Brazilian but living in Finland. And Afro-Finns have a diverse history, identities, and cultures, so you really can't group them into one. But in terms of an umbrella term, it's a good term to use. It's for people to link in, but we're now by no means making anyone choose that as their identity. Everybody is free to decide their identity and narrate it in their own way. Contrary to the beliefs that Finland only became diverse in the 90s when the Somali refugees came to Finland, Finland has been diverse for years. First of all, we're on Sami land, and then we've had the Roma for over 500 years in Finland. And then Africans have been recorded to be in Finland since the 1800s, and I think there's two of them in Sasha's art, the first as well. So Rosa Emilia Clay, and right now the name of the other person skips me, but these are histories that have been found, that have been hidden. It has not been talked about. So as part of the Afro-Finnish movement, people have been researching archives and finding out more information and getting surprised that actually we've been there for hundreds of years as well. And studies show that Afro-Finns face a lot of racism in Finland. Unfortunately, it's still true. Some of the studies is a report by the Non-Discrimination Ombudsman in Finland, the Being Black study in EU, and also the Health and Welfare Institute has conducted several studies. And the studies show that racism, really the first experiences of racism start in daycare, as early as that. And it is all throughout the society. And that is why Good Hair Day is an anti-racist movement, because it is something that affects us all in some ways. So, what are we? We're a collective, we're a community, and we're an event. We celebrate Afrofins and we celebrated Afro hair. We started in 2016, and there the idea was really to both talk about the Afro as a political issue, but also share hair care tips. And from then on, we've grown. And nowadays, in addition to our annual event, we organize workshops, share knowledge, know-how on Afro care, take part in discussions on not one quality, but equality, anti-racism, and identity. And the most important thing for us is to really provide the space. In 2016, there were not a lot of black and brown spaces in Finland, so we felt very important to have a safe space to gather, and really inviting it to be kind of, it's open for everyone, but with meaningless for those who are black and brown in Finland, to kind of experience what it feels like to be in a room where you're not the only one, where you don't have a gaze on you from the outside, where you can look at somebody and you can see yourself. And to provide space for those who thought that they're really alone with the experiences of racism or growing up in Finland, and feel connected to a community if they chose to be so. Our collective actions are based on hope and joy. Hope for a brighter future, but at the same time hope to exist freely without fear, oppression, or racism. And that's a goal that we really want to reach. But the anti-racist work we do is through hope and joy. So in our events, we do not really want to dwell on the negative things. We want it to be a space where we can rejoice. And of course, there are difficult conversations. We have panels, we have artists, we have art, but that is not where we stop. We stop in like celebrating and being together and being able to also narrate our stories through our own words and how we choose to. Because a lot of the history of the Afrofins has been documented through the eyes of non-Afrofins, of white people, and that might not be the narrative that we would want to put forward. And since the beginning, really, we've had these three principles of representation, empowerment, and community. And giving spaces both online, on social media, as well as physical, to share tools and provide connections to talk about these. But then we noticed quite early that also hair is something that comes up a lot, and it's a great entry point for discussion as well. So we do have a lot of hair-related things as well. And often people think that Good Hair Day is like hairdressing salon, or we're all stylists, but no, we're much more. There's activists, there is community organizers, there's artists, and as a collective, we give space to all of our different interests personally, and depending on who's in the collective is what comes out of that year in terms of events or discussions. And yeah, like really wanting to uplift our community, share a different representation, a visual, leave a mark in history to be seen, and also bring role models on stage so that those that come after have more opportunities to look forward to, and they don't necessarily have to spend time on those struggles, but can like dream big. Also sharing the space, that means inviting people to our event. We curate the panels, and then sometimes we have vendors and makers and artists, and we try to lift new names so that they get a piece of the stage too. And so passing the mic and not keeping it only for us. So, who gets to tell our story? This is also some pictures from our community, different pictures of Afro-Finnishness. I think whereas our events are really calling for everybody from the African diaspora, this part of the Afro-Finnish, who gets to tell our story, is maybe more focused at the moment on the Afro-Finnish story, so on those who are Finnish, who identify as Finnish, but are not seen as Finnish by the others, who are questioned from their identity, like in the quote from Hassan Michael, everybody always asking, like, where are you from? Like, hey, Jessica, where are you from?
I'm from Finland.
Oh, Finland, really? Oh, no, but where are you really from?
Helsinki.
What about your parents? Where are they from?
I mean, my mom is from Finland, and I guess my dad's technically, he's been there long enough. He's pretty much Finnish, but he's from Nigeria.
Oh, Nigeria. That's where you're from.
Okay, yeah. I'll let my mom know.
Okay. So these are like questions, and as we've had workshops on this, and we've actually use it now as a tool when we do workshops for younger generation, and we introduce ourselves in different ways. So I might say, hey, my name is Saida, I'm from Finland, from Helsinki, blah, blah, blah. Or then the other person will be like, hey, I'm Saida, I'm Finnish Comorian, but I grew up in Finland and East Africa and so. And the third one would be like, hey, my name is Saida, I'm from Wakanda. And like this. Because we've established that sometimes the best way to get rid of the questions is to just answer something completely obnoxious, and the people will get so lost in their minds, like, okay, yeah, I know where that is. That's right next to Beyonce Land or wherever. But like through that, empowering the youth to like realize that you don't always have to answer the question if somebody asks you. You can decide your identity. It can fluctuate, especially being of mixed. You know, there might be days that you feel very Finnish or very Swedish or very Nordic. And then there might be days when you feel very connected to your African side. And then there might be days when you're both. And those kids that are mixed, that are growing up without the connection to their black side or African side, it's very hard for them to sometimes answer that question when they've never been to the other or they don't know anybody from there. So giving those options, and then I would like want for the other side to also respect that. So if you notice that you're asking somebody, you're curious and you're coming from a good place, you're really interested, maybe you've traveled the world and you want to connect, but the person is not giving their heritage, it's okay. Maybe they don't trust you enough at that point to share it. So working both ways on that, allowing for identities and Afro-Finnishness and Finnishness to look different and be a part of it. So yeah, going back to these pictures, we like to play with different themes of Finnishness. So here we have Bella Forsgren in a very Finnish national dress, and this picture is by Uwa Iduaze, whose pictures are also featured here, and he plays a lot with also the melancholy of Finnishness, that even though we're African and the stereotypic is that you're loud and very colorful and vibrant, this is also us, and this is also our identity, very Finnish, quiet scene, black clothes, serious faces. And then with the Afro blooming, we also have this thing called Afroveena, which is a hashtag that we use, comes from the term Eloveena, which is like the stereotypical Finnish beautiful woman with blonde hair in the field of wheat in a national dress. So playing with that idea as well. And then also here we have this group of young men being proud and happy and not like predator and scary, which is the stereotypic. And just some visions of our Afro-Finnish community. So here I'd like to invite you for a second to join us at one of our events. This was 2019, so you get a little bit a feel of what it looks like. We don't have a sound here, but that's okay because there's no narration. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Talk about the event?
No, I'd rather they just watch it.
I miss the sun so much.
So this clip was made by Alex, and really captures the essence of our events, that what they've grown to, our community, the different vendors, makers. We have panels, and we have artists and display. Yeah, you had a question, Jessica. Do you mind giving the mic?
Hey, my name is Godwish. I have a question. I don't understand why black people like me don't want to accept their identity. Like, I'm Swedish citizen, but I feel offended when someone telling me you're Swedish. I became very angry because for me, I'm an African. That is my identity, that is my proud. But I don't understand the problem, why people feel like they be discriminated by some white person or people asking like, where are you from? What's the problem? Why not answer like, I'm from Africa, I'm from Jamaica or something like that? Maybe that is an issue for people who are a mix, white and black. That's the issue. But when you are black, for me, I don't see that as a problem at all. Because when you want to run away from your identity, that means you become a target to the white person who asking you why you don't want to accept your identity, why you want to be white when you are black. So how are you solving this problem?
Thank you very much for the question and very important points. And this is why we always say that identity is for everyone to choose themselves, and Afrofinnishness is the umbrella term. And I think to answer your question on why somebody feels offended when they're asked that question, when you don't grow up with a connection to your African side of the culture, when you have no connection, you've never been there, you've lived your whole life in Finland and Sweden, it's very hard to identify as African because you have no roots physically taking you to that. And when people pose questions, you're not prepared to answer any questions because you myself have been growing up with those racist views of what Africa is and what African culture is. So that's why people might feel very offended when you ask them where they're from and they answer Sweden, and it's not enough. Like, I think the question of asking where somebody's from is perfectly fine, but the question of leaving it, like if the person replies Sweden and doesn't want to talk about their roots, maybe they've been adopted and that's how they came to the Nordics, or maybe they're like second or third generation Swedish or Finnish and they're disconnected from their African roots, or maybe they're mixed and they grew up with the white side of the family. And I think, like, personally, being of mixed heritage and having a privilege of being very connected to my African side, it's always been easy to answer. But when you stop and think that you're missing that link, you have nobody teaching you about the culture, it's very hard to identify with that. And that's where the kind of aspect of microaggressions come, because it's not one instance. You're asked in school, you're asked on the streets, you're asked at your hairdressers, the store, and it keeps coming, and you don't have the answers. And then people also don't give you the space to leave it at the identity that you've chosen. I think she has still a point.
Oh, sorry. Right.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to understand that one when you are saying like you feel maybe you have been or born in Sweden or Finland, someone asking you, you feel like you don't have connection with your roots if you are from Africa or Jamaica or whatever. So the problem is here, you have to realize that you don't have contact with your roots, the culture, but you are not accepted even in the culture that you're seeing like your culture. Because for me, like this, even I have Swedish passport, still Swedish people are calling me double name, like Afro-Swedish. So that means I'm not Swedish. So it's difficult for me to say that I'm a Swedish, because a person who is Swedish don't have double name. They will tell you this is Swedish, but when it's come to me, it's like Afro-Swedish. Afro always telling me that I have stamp on me that my heritage from somewhere else. I'm not Swedish, and I'm not going to be Swedish. It doesn't matter if my parents are Africans or my parents are Swedish, I'm adopted. I'm always going to have that double name. So it doesn't matter. It's not like one person issue is asking me where I'm from. That is the society stamp on me, Afro-Swedish.
I agree.
Or Afro-Finnish.
100% on it, and maybe we can discuss a little bit more. But Jessica, I think there's a comment here, and then we can comment back, and we can get back to to the talk in a little bit.
It'll be super quick, but so I'm American, and I think that there's nuance, because I think the biggest problem is that we don't understand the difference between ethnicity and nationality. So from a national perspective, I'm very much American, but I have no roots whatsoever in Africa, so I consider myself Black American. But I think there's so much nuance in language and how we identify, but I think it's not I'm wanting to be white. I'm very much American. Black people have very much to do with American culture. So it's how you identify, but also there's nuance. Like, you can absolutely be, there are so many things that you contributed to those cultures that very much wanting to have that connection and wanting people to recognize that, but also understanding that your ethnicity is more outside of maybe Finland or Sweden or America. And so I think words matter, language matters, and I don't think it's wanting to be white or ignoring your African heritage, but my heritage is very much rooted in America because I have no connection whatsoever to the continent. So I think it really is about language and really understanding the differences between ethnicity and nationality. Like, it's so important, and I think there's so much nuance in those words.
Definitely, and there is a level of discussion where there are Afro-Finns who are deciding not to use that term, and exactly what you were saying, they want to go on Black, and they describe them, they identify more as Black than Afro-Finnish because of their connection and their worldview. And I think, like, as part of the question that you were asking earlier is, like, we're trying to change society, we're trying to change the perspective of why do people always question anybody who's Black or brown to not be Nordic. That is what we're trying to move and we change. And we have to remember that language and terminology changes with time. Like, and how it changes is through us, the people, and what we put out and what we talk about. And that's one of Good Hair Day's goals in terms of our activism, is to have an impact on societal talk and have these terms. So yeah, right now AfroFinnish feels like an umbrella term, but it's definitely not something that we're saying like, oh, this is how you have to identify yourself. Like, the Blackness or the Finnishness, and all those should be allowed in the discussion. But let me go ahead, and we can come back to having some conversation towards the end. We have some time for that. So a question that we get asked often is like, okay, you're Good Hair Day, and you talk about hair, but you're not hairdressers, so why hair? What is it? So for us, hair is really the entry point. It's something that's connecting. Everybody has some kind of a story that's related to their hair, whether it's a positive story, whether it's a negative story, whether it's a struggle to find products, whether it's changing your hairstyle, whether it's spending hours doing your hair. So that's why Good Hair Day kind of focuses still on hair, even though the themes of the events have not necessarily been so much on hair. They've been on self-love, well-being, the future, different topics. But still, at every event, we do find that the conversations end up going back into hair. And today, the second part of our talk is going to be from Jessica, who's going to go a little bit more deeper into the hair, and we're going to talk about experiences. And since today's theme is also, or this weekend's, or this since Thursday has been caring. So part of the community care that we do at Good Hair Day is also providing these tools and these tips, because we know that when you look in the mirror and you feel good about yourself, when you feel good about your hair, your confidence is elevated, you're able to address the world in a different way than when you look in the mirror and you feel bad and down and you don't love yourself. So part of the community care is giving those tools to be able to manage hair. And a little bit different in the Nordics compared to the States is that there has not been so much access to hairdressers and products, and like having your hair did is not such a big thing, and the mixed community has their hair struggles as well. So it's a little bit of a different situation than when it comes to hair talk and the natural hair movement in the States. So even though Good Hair Day might have some elements of the natural hair movements, because we're not a hair thing, we are welcoming of hair in all forms, whether it is treated or whether it's not yours, or whether you've shaved it off, or whether you're embracing your curls. Hair in all its forms of Afro fair is a topic at Good Hair Day. But yeah, Jessica, over to you.
All right, thank you. Well, that went well. So yes, let's talk about hair. As mentioned earlier, I am a hairdresser. If you've ever been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to go to a salon, a black hair salon, black-owned salon, and felt the environment there, it's very much a safe space. And we're so fortunate today to also have this entire space to ourselves, and very much also a safe space in that regard, and also as the rules, play rules that we went over earlier. But the salon is very much, you go there for your hair, but it is an experience. You're there, you're connecting with other clients that are there, you're connecting with your hairdresser, and hairdressers, all hairdressers, there's like an inside joke that we're also kind of therapists, but it's very much so, when someone sits in that chair in front of you, people will share all kinds of things. But there's something about going to a black hair salon and experiencing that, connecting with the other visitors there. And you're laughing, you're joking, you're crying together, you're connecting in ways that you couldn't have. And that's something that I think is very much lacking in the Nordic scene, unfortunately. It's very therapeutic and it's very much a safe space. So I think what some of the things that I want to discuss here with you, I'm trying to kind of create that environment here. Whether it is that salon space or whether it's an experience you had growing up with, going to your auntie's house, getting your hair braided, going to your friend's house and getting your hair done. Just think about, if you've been fortunate enough to have those moments and those experiences, how meaningful they have been and how therapeutic they have been, and how important they are. So I kind of want to take you on this journey through the past, present, and future. We'll reflect on a couple details. So think of yourselves kind of as your own time travelers through your own history. I want everyone to relax, be able to reflect, to be present, and then we'll do maybe, if we have time, a little bit of kind of manifesting for what we want for our futures. I would like to invite you to take this as an opportunity to kind of find and maybe connect with community, connect with, if there's any new faces here and you find ways to connect through these discussions, that would be nice. And also just to kind of remind you to participate at whatever level is comfortable for you. Even if that means that you don't really want to and you just want to kind of take it in, that is fine. So right now, let's take a moment, maybe close your eyes if you want to, take yourself back to your younger self. And think of a memory related to your hair. And it doesn't have to be like some amazing thing that happened, or it can be. It doesn't have to be anything traumatizing, but maybe something that really kind of stands out in your mind from time to time that relates to your hair. Is there anyone like to quickly share? Do you want to?
Thank you. It seems for me everyone know how to talk about Africans' hair, even those don't have Afro hair, to tell them how to manage their hair. Mm-hmm. African hair for me is not just hair. It's not something that you going to salon to fix it. Mm-hmm. African hair is spiritual. In my culture, hair is something that is not just managing. It's something that, example, I cannot cut my hair anytime, even if I want it, because my culture don't allow it. I can cut my hair if someone old in my family, maybe my father, my mother, or my grandfather, or my uncle, I will shave my hair for the funeral. So if I cut my hair without asking my mom if it's okay to shave my hair, someone died, I will become blamed for that one. And hair, you don't throw your hair in trash when you are braiding your hair. You have to collect your hair and putting nicely. Sometimes you will digging down on the ground. Because hair is not something that you just throw it. In my cultures, if someone does not like you, will collect your hair, you throw it away because you didn't take care of that hair, will make voodoo against you. So hair, African hair is something spiritual. But I can see that culture has been lost. Mm-hmm. People don't know about the hair culture.
Can I quickly ask how old you were when you learned this, or when this was if it was taught to you, or was it just an understanding that you gained from being in an environment?
I'm now 42.
Mm-hmm. Or how old were you when this was for this entire...
All my life I have known that.
Mm-hmm.
even now I cannot cut my hair. Even now I'm in Sweden, I still follow my culture because
Okay.
it's very important for me. I don't throw my hair just like that. Even if I'm in salon, I will tell them, give me my hair.
Okay.
I will take it home and take care of that one. So
Okay.
hair is very spiritual. It's
Yeah.
something not, it's not something that you play with.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I think there's like 4 hands up, so maybe we go the 4 comments
Yeah.
shortly and then you
Yeah.
comment on them.
It reminded me about something that my mother used to do. Nothing spiritual at all, but my mother has straight hair, and she didn't know how to manage my hair, so she did the best she could. And every time she brushed my hair, she would just, it wasn't very often. I will usually have my hair braided in 4. So she did what she could really. So we had like 2 here, and then she would braid them 2 here and put together. And because she didn't do it very often, once she brushed my hair, it would just come out, and she would look at it and she'd be like, "Oh, your hair is so nice and so soft. I want to collect it and put it in a pillow so I can sleep on it." So that was very loving comment from my mother, and that's a memory that I have from my childhood.
That's nice. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go here, then I'll come there and there. Thank you.
I'm American, and I have a memory, I think I was 5 or 6, and I was used to looking at TV. I grew up in the 60s, looking at TV and seeing little white girls. There weren't little black girls that I can remember back then on TV, and we watched, that was the TV generation, so I saw a lot of little white girls with bangs, and I had natural hair like I do now, but it was longer, and I thought I'd cut myself some bangs. And my mom came home from work and she said, "Oh my God, what have you done?" And she was on the verge of tears because I wish they had taken a photo, but she didn't. But I had just cut, you can imagine a 5-year-old with scissors. And I thought, oh, this is really cool. I look like those little girls on TV.
Yeah, yeah.
But how, screwy that is.
I share that memory. I've cut my hair too, and my mom was very angry with me.
Did we have a couple? Okay, yes.
So growing up, my mom was very keep children as children, so then I never got my hair braided with extensions, but there was this one time that I can remember. I was maybe about 7, and she was like, "Okay, you can get what we used to call back in the day Rasta. Now there's so many Mali braids, there's so many names for it, and I got extensions in my hair, and I can visualize it very clearly. And just around the time I went for a friend's birthday party, and I won a dancing competition, so I had a crown, and it's a picture of me with a crown on my head with my braids, and every time I remember it, I smile. Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful.
I jump in really quickly. I'm from Zimbabwe, and I have been living in Sweden 25 years, and I totally understand missing the hairdressing culture, because in Zimbabwe you used to go every week. You got even just to get your hair washed and taken care of. But the memory I wanted to share was a memory that is like a diffuse memory. It's like it happened all the time at home. In the family, in the extended family, where someone would say, "Ndikwenyurewo," and that means, "Please scratch the dandruff out of my hair." So you would spend maybe half an hour standing with your aunt, and you scratching the scalp, or they scratching your scalp, and that sense of like sharing and spending time and caring for each other, it was amazing. So it's like "Ndikwenyurewo," yeah. So ask someone that next time.
Thank you. I
need
think
to
there was
get
one more, and then I'll let you.
Okay.
A childhood memory that I have related to my hair that is a really fond memory is when my Auntie Sharon braided my hair with beads. It was like braids and beads were the thing, and I was waiting, and they lived in St. Louis. I had to wait till we traveled from Chicago there to get my hair braided, and they were black and white, alternating, heart-shaped beads, and I shook those beads. Yes. And I think the beads lasted like a week because all I could do was just shake my beads. So fond memory of the first time I ever got my hair braided with beads.
I love it. And these are so special. And I think, it's easy to also forget because we get caught up in the day-to-day and trends and things like that. But it's really important to reflect on, especially the positive memories. And, unfortunately for many there are, either, or maybe there aren't any memories, which is also okay. But I think if you take a moment to maybe reflect on it, you might find that you do have some thoughts stemming from those childhood experiences that still maybe affect you today, or maybe you need to revisit them. Maybe you need to get some, bring the beads back, bring that joy back. So those are important. And the kind of other question I wanted to stem from that same reflection is if you had support or inspiration, which, I some of the things that some of you shared also show, obviously, that there was the support or the sense of community, with your family or friends that you could visit, and that maybe was a source of support. But then also, I guess the thing I wanted to kind of think about, especially in this Nordic kind of landscape, is, and thinking of the children especially, is the importance of representation. The example with the bangs, that's something I see a lot in the salon, for example. We get, the family comes in, the mom is like, well, she decided she wanted to try bangs and I didn't know. And I always say, like, okay, well, now it's done. Was it fun? Did you like it? Did you want to do it again? No. And I'm like, okay, that's good for you. Good for being brave. It's better you do this now than when you're 20 and you got to go to a job interview. Like, this is good. So I think children should be allowed to be children and experiment and try. When it's appropriate and as long as they're not hurting themselves, but also that curiosity and wanting to imitate something you see, not realizing, like, my hair doesn't work that way, my hair doesn't lay that way, my hair doesn't move that way, and you're just like, oh, it's hair, I'm gonna try it too. So I think that the representation is so important in those situations. And we don't need to share right now because we'll go through a little bit further, but just take a moment to think about what your community or source of inspiration or support looked like when you were younger. Many of you, maybe by show of hands, feel like you had that? Yeah? Is there anyone who maybe wants to or feels comfortable sharing that they did not have that? Yeah. Yeah, I think when I was really young, I don't think I necessarily had that, and I don't think I recognized it then. But when I look back at my childhood photos, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could have used the auntie back then. So, so again, just a kind of general reflection on what might have influenced and shaped these perceptions that you had of your own hair when you were younger, touching on the representation or just the community and environment, and what role did that environment play. So I think it's, in order for us to improve things as we are right now and then moving forward, we kind of have to remember what it was like when we were children and what the children now are experiencing in their environments. And then bringing us time travelers to the present, we'll do a quick little activity. If you could, Saida's gonna pass around some paper and markers, and if you could write two words that kind of describe your relationship with your hair right now. They don't have to be deep or, super meaningful, but whatever comes to mind. Maybe this past week, maybe this past year, maybe today, And I think what we'll do is maybe kind of collect these and look at them later. Everybody can kind of see if there's any themes. I want to be able to kind of get through this and make sure we are able to discuss later, and so we maybe won't go through all of them live. Sorry? 12. Okay, so we can collect these. We'll collect these, okay. So yeah, just, 2 words, don't feel pressured. If you think of one thing, that's fine. If you don't want to share, that's fine also. But we will, I think maybe, Saida, are you able to collect them afterwards? Okay. Okay, so we'll move on from that activity. And then this might also be a slightly triggering question, but I think it's important. And again, this is a safe space, and this is maybe also a space where this is something you maybe haven't thought about or have been asked before, but how aware are you of your hair in different spaces? So like work, school, maybe parties, either with friends going out to the club, bars, whatever, or maybe even parties with family members. Like, for example, if you do have like a mixed background, or when you go to these, do you find that you're styling your hair differently, or maybe more aware of, conscious of your hair when you're going to different events. If you are very athletic or sporty, or any kind of activity where you realize that your attention to your hair is a little bit more, or not what your everyday kind of situation is. Is there anyone who maybe hasn't spoken that would like to share about their, yeah?
I think I'm really aware of my hair when I'm at work because most of my team are white. Especially I feel quite self-conscious if I change my hair coming into the office, that I know there will be a comment and maybe someone will try to touch it. So I think in those environments I feel quite conscious, or I kind of preempt that someone might, and sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised and no one says, or they say, your hair looks nice, and that's it. So I think in work I do feel very conscious.
Which is really interesting because there's already if you're doing a drastic hair change, there's the little bit of excitement and anxiety there because I don't know if this is me. But then when you go and you're able to get your hair done, if you do your hair or you do something different, there's usually it's an exciting thing, right? You want someone to say like, oh wow, your hair, or oh I see you did something. But then there's also the kind of like, okay, please not too much attention. Like I don't feel like explaining myself too many times.
I feel like I get more hair stress when I go and see my black family because my auntie always come and check if I brushed my hair properly. So I wrap it, and then she knows, she comes and she pulls my wrap, and I'm always like, oh. And then so I have like, before I go, it always takes me ages, and I'm talking to my sisters, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing my hair, and I'm really bad at doing my hair. I'm 37, I still don't know how to do my hair. And so yeah, so it's kind of this, I think in like the white environment, I'm like, it's my usual environment, so I'm always, like, I live only with white people, and I know that when I go out of my room, I would always get I'm not going to go out with my hair out. And I'm just, sometimes I look at them, and I'm like, they're just going out their room, and their hair looks like down, and if I go out, it looks like whatever. And no one ever make a comment, but it's so internalized. But then, like, the moment where I'm really consciously getting ready for it is, like, if I go and see my auntie, and I'm like, I hide everything, unless my hair is braided. And then there I feel a bit more. But then, yeah, I know she's going to come. She's going to go like, I'm like, oh. Yeah.
Yeah, do you have the, oh, okay. Sorry, 2 minutes. My assistant.
I've become a multi-assistant here, so just bear with me.
Hi everyone, my name is Yusuf. I have Somali heritage, born and raised here in Sweden, Stockholm. And right now, actually, I've come to a point in life where I'm careless and apologetic, even to that point where I always have like this comb with me wherever I go.
Yes.
So before a meeting or before like talking on stage or something, I always make it fluffy. And I need to have my afro like this all the time. So yeah, that's how aware I am of my afro today.
Yeah, so it's a very nice deal. You want to show up as your best self, not for others, but for yourself, right?
Exactly.
Because,
yeah,
that's really nice. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Was there someone else that maybe I didn't see? Okay, and I think also that was a very important point. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. These pressures and this like awareness it's not necessarily coming from, for example, in this conversation, like people who don't have hair like us. It's very much also coming from like family members or people who have expectations of how they think our hair should, like, like, oh, it's unkept. Or like, for example, if we can compare maybe like the aesthetics of hair in places where you have more access, then walking out with your hair looking unruly, so to speak, someone will question, like, why didn't you do your hair this morning? So then there's this pressure, like, okay, let me glue down these edges before I go to the grocery store. Whereas in Finland, I think, and I don't know, there's that saying that, your local shopkeeper is probably seeing you in your worst state ever because you just go out looking, which is nice in a different way. But I think it's nice to sometimes take a moment to stop and like, okay, who am I doing my hair for? Why? And where is this coming from? And is it maybe a time to kind of intervene and interrupt that and make some changes in the way we approach it? Quick round of what do you love about your hair? Today even. Yes?
I'm going to give you the same answer I gave yesterday. I love that I can do anything with my hair. Yes. I can be 7 different people in 2 weeks if I wanted to be. Yeah.
That's great.
I love my hair color.
I love it too. Yes.
And I'm thankful for both of my parents for being early grayers. So that's the thing, and I like that it also is expressive, and I can do anything with it depending on the day of the week. If it's raining or snowing outside and I go outside, it's going to look very different than it does right now. So I can be like 5 people in one day, which is amazing.
I like my hair because it's delicacy, it's sexy, it's beautiful. I can do anything with my hair.
Yes, absolutely. I love that.
Anybody else want to share?
Okay. Yes?
Easy maintenance for me.
Yes, speak your truth. Speak your truth. Yes. All right, that was good. I wanted to end on a positive note on that one. And then maybe just to kind of ponder on a little bit further, consider how your relationship with your hair has changed from childhood. And has it? So I think this is something maybe later if we have some time for discussion, but I'm going to get through the rest of this so we can get as much out of this experience. Now moving forward to the future, looking towards the future, do you have a hair goal or something that you would like to try but you're maybe nervous about? Take just maybe like 30 seconds and share with your neighbor. Yeah, okay. Did everyone get to share a quick thing? Yeah? All right. Okay, thank you.
Jessica.
And then we can continue this conversation afterwards.
So there's a few, like 4 minutes until 2 o'clock, but then we can continue talking in this space, but the live streaming will end.
Yeah, so just so we can make sure that everyone online has a chance to see the rest of this. But yeah, let's definitely continue this. Next question. What is something that you want to see, oh, sorry about the typo, normalized about your hair in the future? So think about kind of where we're at right now, maybe experiences you're having now, maybe the things that bring you joy that you want to continue seeing or evolving into future, either in the space that you're in now, or maybe if you're planning on moving somewhere, what you're hoping that those spaces will have for you and offer you in terms of the relationship that you have with your hair and how you're able to nurture that. So we can kind of also discuss that a little bit in just a moment. But I think these are the important things because, you know, we get stuck in thinking about these issues when they present themselves, and they're always an inconvenience. But it's important that when we're also having a good experience or seeing something we like, that we celebrate those and also make sure that those experiences, those services are here to stay and also continue to be there for others when they need them in the future. And then just kind of ask yourself, what do you need in order to reach those goals that you maybe shared with your neighbor just now? If it's support, if it's access to professionals, or just products, whatever it might have been that you shared. And do these things exist in your life right now? Do they exist in your environment, in your community? And also with regards to the normalization of the hair, whose responsibility is it to normalize our hair in these spaces and representation of our hair? We obviously very much understand that we can't demand that, I can't think like Luco, or for example, carries the products that we need, but also I think the images that we put out there of ourselves and things that we support also speak volumes. So, it can't always be us expecting larger companies to look out for us, but also us making sure that our voices are heard, both when advocacy is needed and also when we're supporting the things that are going well. How are we on time? Couple minutes, yeah? So I think on that note, we can kind of, just for the online stream at least, say our thank yous. And
I think an hour is a really short time to talk about both hair, Afro hair, identities, racism, anti-racism, AfroFinnishness, AfroNordicness. So please be in touch. Good Hair Day is up for collabos. We write, we talk, we workshop. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the moment. We do have a website, but it's not very active. And our email is GHD Helsinki. And our hashtag is GHD Helsinki too. If you post something from today, it would be nice if you tag us or share with us so we can share and you can join into our community. And thank you, Marcia, as well. And Jessica, did you have some?
Yeah, I mean, I also thank you so much. Thank you for participating in the conversation. Thank you for trusting us and sharing some of these. Some of these can be quite triggering and very intimate as well. So it's important to me as well that everyone felt good about sharing. And thank you for giving us this space.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Stick around, mingle, ask questions, talk. I just want to say that we have one last talk for this afternoon that starts at 3 o'clock, and it will also be live streaming at 3 o'clock. And we will have Aisha Jordan in conversation with Cecilia Germain, and the moderator is Ro Averin. It will be in that corner over there. So you're welcome to stay for that. But to the audience at home, thank you very much for tuning in. And to everyone here in the room, thank you very much for sharing and helping us build this archive of knowledge around our hairs and having such an open and honest discussion. Thank you so much.